California's major cities are facing a financial crisis. Budget shortfalls are reaching alarming levels, unseen since the Great Recession. Oakland, Los Angeles, and San Francisco are grappling with deficits in the hundreds of millions of dollars. These shortfalls threaten essential city services and infrastructure projects. Mayors are under immense pressure to find solutions as the economic outlook remains uncertain. The causes of these budget woes are complex and multifaceted. The COVID-19 pandemic had a significant impact on city revenues, leading to decreased tax income. Additionally, the economic fallout from inflation and a potential recession further exacerbates the situation. The rising costs of providing essential services like public safety and homelessness programs also contribute to the strain on city budgets. Mayors are left with difficult choices. They must consider raising taxes, cutting services, or a combination of both. Each option carries significant political risks, potentially alienating residents and businesses alike. The situation demands creative solutions and difficult conversations about the role of government and the priorities of city spending. The stakes are high for California's cities. Their ability to navigate these financial challenges will have a major impact on the lives of millions of residents. The decisions made in the coming months will shape the future of these cities for years to come. The budget shortfalls in California's cities are putting a strain on a crucial relationship, the one between Democratic mayors and public employee unions. Unions wield significant power in Democratic politics. They provide vital campaign contributions and mobilize voters, making their support essential for electoral success. Mayors are now faced with a difficult balancing act. They must address the budget shortfalls while also maintaining the support of their labor allies. Unions are understandably resistant to cuts that could result in layoffs, salary reductions, or diminished benefits for their members. These cuts directly impact the livelihoods of their members and weaken the union's bargaining power. The situation is leading to tense negotiations and difficult conversations. Unions argue that cities should explore other avenues for balancing budgets, such as raising taxes on wealthy individuals and corporations, or cutting spending on non-essential services. They argue that frontline workers, who bore the brunt of the pandemic, should not be penalized for a crisis not of their making. Mayors, however, argue that everything is on the table. They emphasize the need for shared sacrifice and argue that unions must be willing to compromise to avoid deeper cuts in the future. They are caught between a rock and a hard place, facing pressure from both sides as they try to steer their cities through these turbulent financial waters. Oakland, a city grappling with a history of financial instability, is facing an $87 million budget shortfall. Mayor Sheng Tao, a former labor leader herself, finds herself in a particularly difficult position. The city is already grappling with the risks of bankruptcy and a potential credit downgrade. Police overtime costs and maintaining a police force of 700 officers are significant budget concerns. While a newly passed sales tax increase offers some relief, it's not enough to close the gap entirely. Tao's strong ties to labor, once an asset, now present a unique challenge. She must navigate the fine line between advocating for her city's financial well-being and maintaining the support of her former allies. Union leaders, while understanding the city's predicament, are adamant about protecting their members' jobs and benefits. Negotiations between the city and its unions are ongoing, with both sides acknowledging the need for a solution. The outcome of these negotiations will have a significant impact on Oakland's ability to address its budget crisis and maintain essential services for its residents. Los Angeles, facing a staggering $800 million budget shortfall, presents another stark example of the challenges facing California's cities. Mayor Karen Bass has proposed potentially laying off 1,600 city workers to close the gap. This proposal has sparked outrage among labor unions, who are gearing up for a fight. SEIU 721, representing a significant portion of the city's workforce, has vowed to resist any job cuts. They argue that layoffs will disproportionately impact essential services and exacerbate existing inequalities. Bass, already facing public dissatisfaction over her handling of the January wildfires and the budget crisis, is in a precarious position. Her historically strong ties with labor are being tested as she tries to balance the city's books. In addition to seeking state financial relief, Bass is negotiating with unions to delay pay raises. She has made multiple trips to the state capitol, seeking additional funds and legislative support to manage liability costs. The results of these efforts are expected in June and will determine the severity of the cuts needed. Section 5. San Francisco. A new mayor navigates choppy waters. San Francisco, facing an $800 million budget shortfall, presents a unique set of challenges. Mayor Daniel Lurie, a political newcomer, has limited prior relationships with labor unions. Lurie has already implemented a hiring freeze to curb spending. However, he faces pressure from labor unions to support them against large companies like Airbnb, who are seeking tax revenue clawbacks. Unions argue that these clawbacks would further deplete the city's coffers and harm essential services. A shift to a moderate majority on the Board of Supervisors might ease some negotiation challenges. However, Lurie must still build trust with labor leaders who are wary of his lack of experience and his approach to the city's financial woes. His ability to navigate these complex relationships will be crucial in determining the city's path forward. The budget crises and labor tensions plaguing California's cities are not isolated incidents. Similar challenges are emerging in other Democrat-led cities across the United States. Chicago, for example, is bracing for a $1 billion budget shortfall in 2026. Portland, Oregon, is also grappling with significant budget shortfalls and strained labor relations. These cities, like their Californian counterparts, are struggling to balance the demands of providing essential services with the need for fiscal responsibility. Several factors contribute to this Blue City budget crunch. The COVID-19 pandemic had a disproportionate impact on urban areas. The rise of remote work has led to decreased tax revenue in cities reliant on commuters. Additionally, the increasing cost of addressing issues like homelessness and affordable housing further strains city budgets. The challenges facing these cities highlight the need for greater collaboration between local, state, and federal governments. Addressing these complex issues will require innovative solutions and a commitment to shared sacrifice from all stakeholders. Labor unions have long been a cornerstone of the Democratic Party's base. They provide significant financial support to Democratic candidates and mobilize their members to vote in large numbers. In the context of these budget crises, unions are leveraging their political capital to advocate for their members. They are pushing back against proposed layoffs, salary cuts, and benefit reductions. They argue that frontline workers who provide essential services should not bear the brunt of the budget shortfalls. Labor leaders are vocal in their opposition to austerity measures. They argue that cities should explore other revenue-generating options, such as raising taxes on wealthy individuals and corporations. They also advocate for increased state and federal funding to help cities weather the current economic storm. The outcome of these budget battles will have significant implications for the balance of power between labor unions and Democratic politicians. A failure to address the concerns of labor could alienate a key constituency and have long-term consequences for the party. The budget crises facing California's cities have forced Democratic mayors to walk a tightrope between fiscal responsibility and maintaining the support of their labor base. On the one hand, mayors have a responsibility to ensure the financial stability of their cities. They must make difficult decisions to address budget shortfalls and avoid catastrophic consequences like bankruptcy. This often involves making unpopular choices, such as cutting services or laying off workers. On the other hand, mayors rely heavily on the support of labor unions for their political survival. Unions provide essential campaign contributions and mobilize voters, making them a force to be reckoned with in local elections. Alienating labor could have serious repercussions for mayors seeking re-election. This balancing act requires careful political maneuvering and a willingness to compromise. Mayors must find ways to address the budget shortfalls while minimizing the impact on city workers and essential services. This may involve negotiating with unions to delay pay raises, exploring alternative revenue sources, or finding creative ways to streamline city operations. The budget crises facing California's cities are creating a perfect storm of political challenges. The clash between fiscal responsibility and labor interests has the potential to reshape the political landscape of these cities and beyond. The decisions made in the coming months will have far-reaching consequences. Mayors who are seen as siding with fiscal hawks over their labor base risk alienating a key constituency and jeopardizing their political futures. Conversely, mayors who fail to address the budget shortfalls risk further economic instability and a decline in the quality of life for their residents. The outcome of these budget battles will likely depend on the ability of both sides to compromise. Unions may need to accept some concessions in the short term to avoid more drastic cuts in the future. Mayors, in turn, need to demonstrate a commitment to protecting essential services and finding alternative solutions to address the budget shortfalls. The stakes are high and the path forward is uncertain. One thing is clear: the decisions made in California's cities will have ripple effects across the state and the nation. As other cities face similar challenges, the outcome of these budget battles will serve as a bellwether for the future of labor relations and the Democratic Party.